Good morning and welcome to today's European Briefing Live. My name is Richard and I'm more than happy to take you through this session today. So just before we begin, if we can start as we always do with just taking a look at our disclaimer. Now this particular webinar will be taking an in-depth look at the day's trading that we have ahead of us. So please do take, in the meantime, please do take a quick moment to read through our disclaimer. So what we'd like to do at this point, and to just give you a little bit of background in terms of what we'll cover over the next 20 minutes, we just need to cover a couple of pieces of housekeeping, and this is just to inform you in terms of how we're rolling out this particular webinar. So feel free to ask questions throughout at any point. You can locate your chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. That will come straight through to us and we'll answer any questions you may have. So this webinar is being recorded as well and will be placed in your members, those of you that are members with us, once the webinar has concluded, and we will be having a Q&A session at the end. Okay, so in terms of what we'll cover in the next 20 minutes, we'll start by, we're going to do a review of yesterday's price action, and we're going to look at that on daily timeframes to give a bigger picture view in terms of what trades may exist. Now, what that will allow us to do is to develop an initial trade plan for the day. So we're gonna try and cherry pick some high probability trades. And that forms the basis of our approach to trade selection. So for traders, identifying what trades to trade and reasons for looking to get into those trades is all important. And then what we'll do at that point is we'll take a little step back. We'll see, once we've planned our trade, we'll do a little review of potential market moving news for the day. So that will be quite important, because if we want to get into certain trades, we want to know if there's any news events that can impact those trades over the course of the day. And then what we shall do is we'll finalize our trade plan for the day ahead, and we'll look at smaller time frames in terms of looking to get into these particular markets. So we look at 15-minute time frames. Okay, so let's begin with reviewing yesterday's price action. So what I'll do is I'll get up our charts. And we'll have a look at, like we said, the daily time frame. So we start, as we always do, with the dollar index. So we'll have a look at this chart first. So we had some interesting news yesterday, and I'll touch upon it briefly when we start reviewing the market moving news as well. We had Draghi, which is the ECB president, testifying with regards to the European outlook to interest rates and certainly their approach to monetary policy. And as a result, we've had a bit of a turbulent day. The dollar started to sell off for the majority of yesterday's price action, then became quite bullish, and then the market started to sell off. So as you can see, there's a bit of a bearish spinning top in this particular market at the moment, and today's price action has not really reacted in any way, shape or form. So that for us as traders just puts a question mark in terms of what's really going on in this market. If you had to make a decision in terms of what you would prefer to do to this market, you'd have to go with the prevailing winds, which is ultimately to the downside. Now, some key areas to look for on a daily time frame would be the potential for a structural failure to the upside, because we're seeing the double bottom or potentially a triple bottom here around the $88 level. So if we do get a bit of bullish price action coming into the US dollar, then a really significant level becomes the 90.50 level approximately. So if we get a concerted move up to this level and we get a break of this level, it would constitute what we refer to as a structural failure in this market. So it might present some very, very interesting bullish opportunities in the dollar, but we're currently in this precarious position as well, where we've got where we have price action just meandering around this kind of price range down here. Okay, so moving on, we shall. So that's the dollar index. So as a result, the picture is fairly similar across the board. We're seeing yesterday, and we're largely focusing on yesterday's candlestick. We've got a bit of a messy picture here with yesterday's candlestick. So we started out, again, the dollar started to sell off a little bit. It became, as soon as Draghi started to testify, and we'll cover a little bit more detail in the news in terms of what he said very shortly, but it was slightly positive for the US dollar. So we've got this selling off, and then the market started to strengthen a little bit. I think it's sort of 5-6 hours later. In fact, what we'll do is we'll go in to that hourly look just so that you can see. So what we had was, in the build up to the news event, to Draghi speaking, which is always a particularly significant event in the financial markets, traders are looking to gauge in terms of interest rate decisions and additional monetary policy decisions as well, and the impact that can have on the markets can actually be quite profound. So on a daily time frame, clearly the build up to the news was quite bearish for the euro dollar, and what we saw subsequently is the dollar strengthening, and then over the course of the next few hours we started to see the dollar weaken once more. So just looking at an hourly picture, we're getting a bit of consolidation around these prices, so we really need to exercise a little bit of patience at this time before we make any significant decisions. So that's the euro dollar, and a lot of the same picture applies across the board regarding the dollar, so I'll quickly go through these. So we're seeing the same kind of price action across a lot of the dollar pairs, where the yen started to strengthen, the dollar started to then take over, and then the yen started to strengthen once more. So we're just in this procrastinating bit of price action currently. So we need to cherry pick some interesting opportunities, and as you can see, a lot of the dollar pairs don't necessarily stack out to any great extent, but a market that potentially does could be the New Zealand dollar if we start to see some strength come into the US dollar. The reason for that is largely a technical one. We've seen a very clean double top at these highs, so the market has bounced off these levels, made a structural low, tried to break those levels again and failed. So this is regarded as a double top. So the suggestion is a break beneath these 3 daily lows could constitute an interesting move, maybe even down to these levels down here. So we have a potential to trade, to take a trade to the downside to roughly approximately these lows. So this is a market that has potential, and what I will do is I'll take those scribbles off. So we're going to look at the price action below the 72.70 level, but we'll go into more detail very shortly on the 15-minute chart to actually plan that particular trade. So that's one of our trades that we're going to recommend for the day for those reasons. The euro pound, as you can see, we're in this extended period of consolidation. If I just do some technical analysis, and we'll just put these levels ever so roughly, just putting into these charts. So we're seeing this sort of narrowing. This is a descending triangle, meaning we're getting selling off the top edge, and we're getting buying off the bottom edge, and we're currently in the middle of that range. So this is very much a range-bound trade. And as you can see, with a lot of the political risk regarding the Brexit negotiations, and we do have Theresa May speaking again on Friday, I believe it's Friday, and I think Liam Fox as well, who's the Trade Secretary, will be making a statement today at some point as well. So with this particular market, we're just going to apply a little bit of patience for a little bit longer. Just finishing the Forex pairs, we're seeing a bit of bullish price action come in against the yen. We've seen, as a result of the some of the significant fluctuations in the stock markets, we've seen a bit of a flight to safety over the last few weeks into the yen. But as you can see, prices are beginning to be supported around this level. So that is an interesting development to us. We're just going to exercise a little bit of caution in the short term, just to see what happens over the course of the day. But there could be opportunities to perhaps buy. I suppose what we will need to take into account is the euro and how much strength will exist in that. But in terms of the prevailing winds in a more sort of shorter term perspective, if we get a break beneath these recent lows of 3 days ago, then the higher probability trade is a nice explosive move lower after an extended period of consolidation. Okay, so that's just wrapping up. So the only foreign exchange trade we're going to look at for the day is going to be the New Zealand dollar. The S&P, as you can see, let me zoom out so you can see this in a bit clearer. You can see we're in this clearly trending channel for quite some time, and you can see the volatility that we've experienced in January, and therefore the fall off in February, which was quite excessive. I'm sure you've heard significant debates on the state of play, and what we've seen is now effectively kind of a double bottom in this market, followed by a bit of a structural failure, which has the potential to be bullish. But as you can see, we've got a little bit of resistance off this top edge back to the middle line, and that provided some support for this market to kick on to the upside. So we've had some interesting trades on this, some very decent profitable trades over the last week or so. So we're currently getting a little bit of a pullback off this high. However, if we get a turnaround and we get this market breaking above yesterday's daily high and today's daily high, which are effectively the same, then we'll be looking for opportunities to look to take this market further to the upside. So this is actually the second trade we're going to recommend for the day for that reason. We've just experienced a structural failure to the upside, meaning we're looking for opportunities to now buy this market, and it's very important for us as traders to have a directional bias in this market. So we're getting this price push to the upside. So we're going to have a look at that on a 15-minute chart very shortly. The issue with the global stock markets is that we don't necessarily want to get into too many of those particular trades. So we're going to just start with the S&P, and we'll see how we get on with that, just because of the nature of the volatility in some of these markets. The Nasdaq is pushing previous highs, and the FTSE is seeing yesterday this structural failure that I was referring to, just to break above this structural high, and we're sort of procrastinating at today's price action. So again, a little bit of patience is required. And the last two markets, this is the gold market, and again, this is reacting very much to the US dollar. So we're getting the similar price action, it's inverted. So today, bit of procrastination, a bit of patience is required, and we shall finish with the oil markets. You can see quite bullish yesterday, a little bit of selling pressure coming into this market. So we're going to wait and see over the course of today. So again, a little bit of patience required. Okay, so we come back to the two markets we're going to identify. Is the New Zealand dollar, USD, and the S&P 500. So these are the two trade selections for today. So we'll come back to those very, very shortly. So what we'll do now is we'll just have a little review of the market moving news to give you hopefully a clear insight in terms of some of the news events that can potentially impact some of the trading decisions that we make. So what's worth pointing out is yesterday's news. We had Draghi speaking actually 20 minutes late. This was due out at 2 p.m. yesterday, Monday, the 26th of February. And to just give you sort of a very brief snapshot, the message from the ECB is very much to maintain this accommodative stance with regards to interest rates. Now, what the markets are looking for is, was there any sentiment with regards to potentially a hawkish view where the ECB would look to increase interest rates? And the answer is basically not at this time. So the ECB is firmly within this realm of looking to accommodate and support the market. Now, as a result of Draghi's speech, we then started to see, and don't forget that the US dollar has been under pressure for quite some time now, but we started to see the US dollar strengthen probably the best part of 4 to 5 hours before the market started to weaken again. So what we'll do is, so we've just had a look at that price action. So that is the state of play. So when we trade the markets, we want to have an understanding of the dynamics of the markets we trade. So it's very important that we not only have a directional bias, but we also are able to identify market conditions. And the market conditions currently with regarding the euro and the dollar just seems to be a little bit indecisive at this minute. So what that means to us as traders, we don't necessarily want to be trading indecisive markets. So a little bit of patience is required. So moving on to today's news, as you can see, there's 3 sort of significant and major events. The first one, and probably the most important news event of the actual week, largely, is with regards to the new Fed chair, Powell, who is now taking over from Janet Yellen. So he'll be testifying, again, the formal position from the US is that there is no significant change to monetary policy. So things are going to continue as they have been with Janet Yellen, with a view to looking to increase interest rates over the course of 2019. So what we can see is during this news announcement is probably or the potential for extreme volatility, if any other view is expressed apart from the status quo. So we'll be very interested to keep an eye out for that. Core durable good orders. If this is above expectation, it's likely to be positive for the dollar. If it's below expectation, it's likely to be negative. And the same as well for 3 p.m. Consumer confidence, we have a figure out regarding at 3 p.m. So it's just important. There's 3 significant news events by a country mile. The most important is Powell's testimony. However, you'll have to be aware at 3 p.m. as well regarding consumer confidence. So again, we'll be looking at the expectation, which is 126.2, and if it comes in above that, it's likely to support the dollar. If it comes in below that, it's likely to impact the dollar adversely. Okay, so that's just an overview of the market moving news. So what we shall do now is let's go into the 2 trades that we've identified. Let's look at this at our usual normal 15-minute price time frame. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at the lows, even though it's continuing to buy. So this could provide a level of support. However, for the reasons that I've already explained, we're looking at a double top trade. And for this price, if the dollar strengthens, for this price to squeeze lower. So we're actually looking at the more recent lows. So for all intents and purposes, we can identify a level here beneath this low. So I just wanted to identify the low of this market, which is the 72.70 level. So that's exactly this little line down here. And what this line signifies is an opportunity to take this market lower. Now, the actual decision making that we make around the break beneath that level will be contained within itself. There'll be reasons why we look to get into that particular trade. But as far as a trade idea for the day, we'd be looking to get into this market below the 72.70 level. Okay, so that is the recommendation for the day regarding the New Zealand dollar. And just the final market that we're going to look at, and we're currently getting a bit of pullback on this market. So let's go in. We're looking for a break above the recent highs and seeing continuation. We are looking to go with the market and not against the market. So we're looking at these levels just up here. So we're looking at approximately, and to be as accurate as we possibly can, again, this is a version of a breakout trade above the daily highs. So we're looking at the 27.85. So I'm just going to amend this level in here. 27.85. 85.43. Okay, so oh, excuse me. Let me change that once more. Okay, so that's approximately the level that we'll be looking at for this market to break above that level. It would constitute a break of the daily highs, and then we would need to formulate that into terms of executing this particular trade. So that's a little review of our process. So what we need to do now then, I appreciate we're coming to the end of this webinar. So if you do have any questions, I'm more than happy to take them from you. I'm quite happy to do a few minutes of Q&A. So you're very welcome to post any questions you might have into your chat box. And I'll be more than happy to take those from you. So let me just have a quick look. So Jose, good to have you on board. David, great to know. Pleased you enjoyed it. So on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us for your European briefing. It doesn't look like we have any questions coming in. So on that note, I'd like to wish you a successful trading day. So from everyone here at the Forex Academy, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Take care. Bye for now.